This is Indie Book Publishing. Indie Book Publishing is a show about new books and the authors who wrote them. It's an opportunity for prospective readers to hear directly from the writers, to hear what inspired them to write and publish, and to hear all the inside details about their books. And now, Indie Book Publishing with your host, Steve Jorgensen.
Greetings for Indie Book Publishing, Balboa Press. This is J. Douglas Barker. The book is titled The Gift of Koi, Paintings and Reflections. And joining me from somewhere in the universe, I think it's Ohio, Meredith Cope, our author and artist. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
My pleasure.
Pleasure visiting with you. Your book is a beautiful bit of artwork and also verse. What was the inspiration behind your deciding to put your artwork and combining that with your poetry?
Well, the book is based on my paintings of koi, like you're saying, and as I was painting and developing this series of work, I just kept being surprised myself at the messages that I kept picking up on. The work just seems laden with unexpected patterns and reflections in the water that just seemed to refer to ancient hieroglyphics. That's kind of what it reminded me of, and that seemed like a reference to ancient people, and that would be symbolic of the timelessness of the messages that I was to receive. And of course, this accompanied my own personal spiritual journey at the same time. And so all of these things just seemed to surface as I was painting. I didn't set out to, I didn't wake up one day and say, I think I'll paint symbolic paintings.
Sure.
But they just kept revealing this sort of content to me. And so the meaning just got richer and richer. And so it just occurred to me that, maybe it would be helpful to go ahead and illustrate that through a book, too, as well, to let people, so everybody could share in the message that I thought I was receiving through them. So.
You have been an artist or a painter for a long time, I guess most of your adult life, if not before then. You also say that you studied since the mid-1800s. Now, that makes me nervous. Is that, I guess you're studying the artwork of the 1800s, you have not been around since then.
No. Yeah, that would be a little nerve-wracking.
That would be a little unusual. I have had some interesting art people and also authors on my program, but thankfully you are more in the traditional sense. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Now, in addition to writing and doing this poetry, is this the first effort you've made doing this type of combination?
I suppose it is, actually. And, when I sat down to write the book, I thought, this is going incredibly easy. And I thought, I didn't think of myself as a writer, but then I realized that I have been writing I was a teacher for 30 years, and mostly in gifted and talented programs where I wrote my own material all the time.
Wow.
So I did write plays, and I wrote poetry with students, and everything they were writing I wrote with them. And so then I realized, I guess I kind of am a bit of a writer. I just haven't published anything before. So, but yeah, it came very fluidly, just like the painting did, and that's kind of how we got to the book.
The messages of your book, I know they're inspirational in content, but what is the underlying message you wanted to get across or that came through?
Well, the underlying message is that, again, like I'm painting koi and water, and it's showing all this flow and connection. And I think that's the underlying message, is that somewhere, I think we're aware of as a species, of our own broken contract with nature and how that's left us separated from the earth and actually, I guess you could say from the truth of who we really are. And whatever separates us from nature separates us from our true selves and therefore from our source. So the message is about the flow and connection through harmony with nature and our spirit that I think so many people are in dire need of.
You've described art as another example of the magic or the miracle in life, and you say it happens through the connection of greater energy, the creative source of all, and my presumption from that is that you feel every one of us has some creative energy that's a part of our being, part of our nature, part of our makeup.
Yeah, I think visual arts is one of those, you could call them heart openers, that's what I call them. Also music, literature, dance, any kind of creative form of humanity is us trying to reach our heart open space. And I think hopefully that's what this book can do. That's what all art can do, is reach a place into us that reminds us of our best self.
You've mentioned that you have a background as a teacher instructor. Did this book come together in that style?
Did it come together in that style?
The style
No.
of being an instructor.
No, I don't think so. I think this was really personal. I think this was very different from anything I've ever written because it was really spiritual and it was totally personal. I was trying to get at what had happened to me individually, which, usually does translate to individual human experience.
Right.
I mean, universal human experience. So it starts out very personal, but it applies to everybody in the end. So
I think our listeners might find it helpful to get an idea and a sense of your writing style if you have something that is maybe personal to you that you might want to share from your book.
Okay, well, I think you mentioned that it has poetry in it that accompanies the paintings. And like I said before, too, I was just painting what I found beautiful and interesting to me as an artist. And then through it, then every time when I got through, I saw so much more. So I'm painting this fish, this koi that is got one fin out. And as I'm painting it, constantly I'm reminded that it looks like I'm painting a wing, not a fin, but a wing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that spurred this thought right here. Making light play of the water, quick turns, flashing fins that feel the flow in and out. Agile movement, trailing evidence of blessings like bioluminescence. With my life's predictably unpredictability, I feel the presence, their guarding, guiding essence. Don't tell me we don't have angels. I see wings.
Beautiful. Beautifully put. And the accompanying artwork is spectacular.
It's just fun, fluid thoughts about the beauty and all the reminders. I think all of nature really is constant reminders of the love that we're surrounded with that we just forget to be open to sometimes.
Your subject matter in art revolves around water. Is there a specific reason you think that water is important or a part of this process?
I think it's just a natural connection, maybe, of my soul. I don't know. It's always been a focal point of my work. I first started painting pond. I first had ponds actually built around my house. And so then I naturally started painting those ponds, and then I also noticed that I could never keep a pond painting. They always sold, and so in my brilliance, I realized, hey, that might be a sign. So I continued to paint those things, and I have finally just drawn the line and said, okay, this last pond painting I did, I'm keeping it. Nobody can have it.
Now, you do have your art on display and for sale, I guess, or being shown,
Yes.
Correct?
Mm-hmm. I do. I have. I just do personal shows quite a bit, but I have had different galleries around the United States. And right now, my focal point is in Hawaii because these are Hawaiian images, and they are references to the Hawaiian koi that I photographed there and came home and painted. But so there is the Third Dimension Gallery on the main island, the Big Island in Hawaii, that carries my work.
Excellent.
At the present time, and I've got several shows coming up. People can go to my website and see under the events tab I have 2 shows coming up. There's one in Nashville, the Nashville Antiques and Garden Show, that's coming up in January 30th. People can Google that, but I'm going to have a booth there, and that is a visually stunning show. It's mostly antiques and garden things, like it says, but it also includes some artwork. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I have a personal show here in Dayton, Ohio in November 7th, 8th, and 9th at the Dayton Society of Painters and Sculptors. So I do keep busy.
You do keep busy. Do you think this is going to have a wide appeal, or did you have a specific audience in mind with your work?
I'm thinking big. No, I do. I think it has a universal appeal. I really do. Because, like I said, art is a heart opener, and so art can be enjoyed by everyone. These are very fluid, colorful, and symbolic of all life experiences. So, I do think I think it's a good gift item. It's a good way to just share in someone else's soulful experience and widen your own.
How long did it take, Meredith, to complete this compilation and get it to press?
Well, I was at a show in Lisbon, Portugal, an international show there that I was showing my work at, and I just had a day or two left over at the end, and I thought, I'm just going to sit in my lovely room and look at my lovely view out the window. Lisbon is a gorgeous place. And I started writing the poetry there. And I got most of I'd say at least half of the poetry done there. And then when I came home, it took me about 2 or 3 more months then to write the story and the rest of the pieces that are in there.
Were there any challenges in getting this completed? Did you have any mental blocks or obstacles you had to overcome?
No, and, I just don't do that. I decided not to do that.
Good.
People ask me the same thing about painting. Oh, aren't there
Right.
days that you just can't paint? No, not really. I just, some days it goes more quickly than others. It flows out of me and through me quicker some days. But no, I can always paint. I can always write.
How would you introduce your book to a complete stranger that you meet at an art showing, for example, and let them know that you, in addition to being an artist, are also a writer?
Mm-hmm. I plan to have this at all my shows from here on out.
And what do you say to them when they show up and you say, "Look, I'm more than just an artist. I'm a very creative personality here," and I don't get stumped.
I don't usually say that, but I just say if you'd like to look further and experience the paintings on a deeper level, look through this book and see if it doesn't do that for you, because I feel like it does.
Fabulous. The book is titled The Gift of Koi, Paintings and Reflections, and our guest and author and artist, Meredith Cope. Meredith, where can my listeners get copies of your book?
They're available on Amazon.com and also on BarnesandNoble.com, so I'd love for them to get a chance to see it. There is a See Inside feature on Amazon.com, so they can get a little peek at it, too, before to help them decide if it's something that would add to their lives.
And listeners, you can also request it from your local bookseller. They'd be happy to order it in under the title, The Gift of Koi. And Meredith, you mentioned that you had a website. Share that information with us, please.
I do. Well, everything about me is very repetitive. It's it's www.meredithcope.com, just like my MEREDITH and then COPE. So meredithcope.com, and my email is the same thing. It's meredith@meredithcope.com.
Fabulous. Do we anticipate, or do you anticipate, a follow-up book to this one?
Well, I do kind of interweave the subject of color as I'm writing the story of my spiritual experience here. And it really did center around color. That's what allowed me to sort of break through as an artist. So I've had people that have read the book say, I know what your next book is. You need to write a book about color. It really as a textbook type thing. And with my teaching background, that might be appropriate. I am kind of thinking about it.
Any inspirations as far as your spiritual growth that have influenced your life?
Well, I can just tell you that through the writing of this book, I had an incredible experience, really, of looking out my window and thinking, okay, if everything comes from its source, reflects back on its source, is a small microcosm of the source it came from, just like the things that are in the book here, the paintings. If you just look outside and you look at every leaf on every tree, and I don't know, it's just one of those aha moments or epiphany moments where it just dawned on me, look, every single leaf is trying to bring us the love from the universe. And if there's that many messages, if I was going to use old language of personification of God, I would think she's out there saying, how in the world did they miss it?
How did they miss it?
How could they not know they're loved? Just look at every leaf. There's hundreds of thousands in a view of one person at one moment. So I think we're surrounded by it, and it's we need to all open up to it and take it in. It'll change our lives.
There was an old song, Somebody Bigger Than You or I, so I think you're probably on the right track. The title of the book, again, is The Gift of Koi, Paintings and Reflections. our author, Meredith Cope. Thank you, Meredith, for joining me today. Hope to hear from you in the future.
Thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. For Indie Book Publishing, Balboa Press, this is J. Douglas Barker.